Big news from Nikon. They've just announced the Z6 and Z7 version 2. Will you be upgrading? In this video, I'm going to run through some of the highlights of the announcements and let you know what I think based on what we know at this point. Thanks for stopping by. I'm Scott Lawrence, a professional headshot and portrait photographer based here in Detroit. New cameras, will you be upgrading? That is the question. So let's jump right in. Probably the headlining feature is the addition of that second card slot. Nikon took a lot of flack for this up front with the first release of these cameras, and they've corrected the problem, I think, as best they can. So they've added that second SD card slot, so that's kind of a lesser capable slot compared to that CF Express or XQD slot, which I've really grown to love. But nonetheless, they do have that second slot, and I think that's a valuable feature for wedding photographers, those that really need that essential backup kind of within the camera. They've also added a second processor to the camera. So they haven't upgraded the processor itself, they've just added a second processor. So it's a dual core camera, I suppose. And so if we take maybe the Apple approach, we've learned that more cores is better. I think that's probably going to be a nice addition to the camera body and the performance. But we don't have a whole lot of specifics one way or the other and how exactly it's going to affect performance, other than faster frame rate and improved autofocus. I mean, that's pretty general, so we'll see. They've also specifically noted the improvements in the eye autofocus. Again, kind of hard to tell exactly how much better that's going to be. I think right now the eye autofocus is pretty good. It's not perfect, but I don't think the other camera manufacturers are perfect either. So I think Nikon gets kind of a bad rap, but based on some of my observations from a live shooting demo that I watched a few weeks ago, I saw somebody shoot and then edit some images from, I believe it was a Canon R5, and there were a lot of eye autofocus misses. So I don't think everybody else has it all figured out, but I don't know. Tell me I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. There's some additional video resolution, so you get the 4K at 60 frames per second, and then I think the 4K 120 is coming in the Z6 version 2 in the beginning of 2021. So we'll see how that works. And then there's a new battery, and there's also going to be a newly announced battery grip. What's the same? So it's the same tried and true design of the Z6 version 1. I didn't think there was anything wrong with that design. I thought the design and feel of this body was fantastic. It was a great transition from the D850. And you even look at, compared to maybe the Canon R6, and you can even see some more features in this body and design that aren't necessarily apparent or available in the R6. I think it's a great body design, no complaints here. It's also the same resolution, so it's still that 24 megapixel sensor, which I think is a fantastic sensor. I haven't had any concerns or problems with that sensor, so nothing wrong there. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? And then the resolution has been plenty for my professional headshot and portraiture work. There's never really been a time where I could say, oh yeah, I really could have used that extra resolution. It's just not as big of a deal as I think a lot of people make it out to be, and I think photographers are starting to catch on, and I just don't see that really ultra high resolution as being that much of a benefit. So the big question, will I upgrade? Honestly, I'm still on the fence. I think the biggest benefits to me would be the improved eye autofocus. Of course, we don't exactly know what that means yet. Now there are some additional autofocus functions where, if I'm understanding right, they kind of limited the range where you would have the eye autofocus active. That could be a benefit. I could definitely see that, because you get situations where other faces are coming in and out of the frame, and then that distracts the eye tracking. So I think that's going to be a good feature. I'm hoping it's going to be a faster acquisition and just a more accurate acquisition. But again, we'll see. The second memory card slot, of course, adds some flexibility and redundancy, but again, it's not really a deal breaker for me. It wasn't a deal breaker for me in the first place. Ideally, I think if they're going to add the second card slot, I'd like to see 2 CF Express cards. I guess you could argue that the SD card format is just so much more pervasive, and I mean, you can find SD cards just about anywhere. Maybe there's an argument there. I'm just curious as to why they would have gone with one of each of these cards instead of 2 of the same ones. But who knows? I'm not designing the camera. I'm kind of on the fence. I don't know. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Are you gonna upgrade? Do you have the Z system now? Are you gonna upgrade, or are you gonna wait till maybe the next revision? The other thing I would point out too, and I have to remind myself this as well, is that cameras are just so good. I mean, regardless of the manufacturer, the lenses are so good. I always remind myself that it's just as important, if not more important, to continue building and studying my lighting techniques, learning more about studio lighting, learning more about video lighting, because that's where I think I can make the biggest perceived difference in terms of the final image to my clients. And I think they're gonna notice that more than what the camera maker model is that I'm shooting with. Those are my thoughts on the camera. Let me know if you think you'll be upgrading, why or why not. Let me know in the comments. Thanks again for watching, and if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and maybe I'll be making some more of these types of videos.